36 holes, Brian Harman was head and shoulders above the rest. His 10 under mark, 5 clear of the next closest, but he's given one of those back, now sits at 9 and just 3 shots clear of Jon Rahm and Tommy Fleetwood. Harman and Fleetwood comprising that final pairing at Royal Liverpool. As for Rahm, he's in the house with a record-setting 8 under 63, the lowest round recorded in an Open at Royal Liverpool and the lowest round of Rahm's major championship career. And for In Progress Reaction and a look into the numbers, we say hello to CBS Sports data scientist and host of the First Cut podcast, Rick Gehman, our friend and yours. Rick, it's always a pleasure. Brian Harman, truly an anomaly over the first 2 days of the Open. We see him give one back at the first hole here in day 3. But before we get to the leader, we were expecting a bit more teeth in the test out here at Royal Liverpool on Saturday, but the numbers don't suggest that that's the case right now.
No, they certainly don't. This is by far the easiest scoring conditions that we've had all week. You know, the first 2 rounds, Royal Liverpool played about 2.5 strokes over par. We are about a half stroke under par right now. So about 3 shots better in terms of the scoring average on Saturday than of the first 2 rounds. And the reason for that, we got rain overnight. We got rain this morning, and then pretty much earlier than expected, that storm kind of moved out. And instead of dealing with that annoying rain and constantly having to, take on your jacket, take it off, open up the umbrella, all that stuff that annoys these guys, the rain stopped and the wind has kind of laid down and we're getting some prime scoring conditions out there. So this is certainly a moving day on the PGA Tour, moving day at a major championship, and guys are taking advantage of it.
Yeah, and that leaderboard gravity, whether it's Harman coming back to the pack or the big names rising to the top, it all seems to be happening right now. Harman did match the low 36-hole score in the history of the Open at Hoylake. Rory and Tiger, the 2 previous, both did go on to win. But with a lead of that size, it almost brings more in to think about in terms of strategy and not just the umbrella. The putting performance, as you outlined here throughout the week, not really sustainable. The numbers that we saw through the first 2 days, Harman was making everything. How is he best suited to protect this lead that is now down to 3?
Yeah, so this is a really interesting dilemma that we have here. As you mentioned, Joe Musso, he's got 8.5 strokes gained with the flat stick is what he gained through rounds 1 and 2. It's basically one of the best 36-hole putting performances in major championship history since we've started recording the strokes gained metrics. That is unsustainable. So he's not going to gain 8.5 more over the final 2 days. Now, I think the easier scoring conditions are probably not great for Brian Harman. There was a path for him with this golf course being really difficult to go out and hit a lot of fairways, which he always does, hit a lot of greens, 2-putt, make par, and move on. That's not really going to be the route to victory anymore, at least on this Saturday with the scoring conditions that we are seeing. So now Brian Harman has to deploy a different plan. Brian Harman is going to have to go out there and put some circles on the scorecard. I'm not super confident that he's going to be able to do that at a prolific rate. So this is much more up in the air than it was even Friday night as we were looking at this leaderboard.
It surely does, and with all due respect to Brian Harman, if you cover that first line of the leaderboard, the conversation changes drastically. You got the hometown hero up there, a Masters champion, the U.S. Open champion lurking, a number of former champion golfers of the year as well in the mix. In terms of chase strategy, where are you seeing right now ground being gained, and who do you see best suited on course right now to make that push?
Yeah, we're seeing a lot more drivers being taken out of the bag on Saturday, and it makes sense. The golf course is playing longer because it is wet and there's not as much wind, so there's not as much trouble, and it's a different wind this week. The prevailing wind, which is that west-northwest wind, we're not seeing that. It's flipped, so we're seeing basically a different golf course, and guys like Rory McIlroy, guys like Victor Hovland, who are able to drive it so well, are putting their best weapon to good use on Saturday. That's what we saw Jon Rahm do. 63, by far the best round ever recorded at Royal Liverpool because he was very aggressive with the driver, and it paid off. So this is the day we've been waiting for. Coming into the event, we thought this would be kind of a true driving test, the ability for Rory to unleash the big dog, Victor to unleash the big dog. They're doing it here on Saturday, and that is the path to separating yourself from the rest of the pack.
Yeah, we saw Jon Rahm take some straight lines off tees, an 8 under 63 round of the week and the lowest round ever in the Open at Royal Liverpool. If we could take a look here at the scorecard, coming home in 30, Rick, what did you make of this performance early on? A cup of coffee and a shot in the arm here for Jon Rahm, who at day's end really moved that tee time back come Sunday, if nothing else.
Yeah, he bought himself some more sleep, indeed. The 60 63 that he shot, it's record-setting, and there's never been a 64 at Royal Liverpool. So he did some damage out there on Saturday, and this is almost a perfect scorecard. The 30 coming in with six birdies is the way to inject yourself back into this board. This statistically, it's still happening because the round's in progress, but it's going to be about 7.5 strokes gained for Jon Rahm when this round is all said and done. It's probably going to be his best single round in terms of strokes gained at a major championship. The only other one that is kind of still out there for him was round one at this year's Masters, which he would go on to win. So this is the ceiling that you need to win a major championship. We saw that from Jon Rahm on Saturday. Will it be enough? That's kind of the big question, but unlimited firepower. He's the maybe one or two best drivers of the golf ball on the planet, and he did exactly what he needed to do. And oh, by the way, I love that his round ended, Joe, just as Brian Harman was kind of walking over, the infrastructure, going to the having to stare at that on the leaderboard. It was a little bit of mental warfare as well.
And some circles being drawn on the card of Rory McIlroy as well. Roar's coming up in front of Brian Harman, the man over your right shoulder, certainly poised to push on Sunday. Perhaps it'll be a little different Sunday than the one pictured there at TPC Scottsdale. Rick, you've been telling me Tommy Fleetwood for 3 weeks, so I figure why even ask you the question, but your official pick to win here as we are in progress in round 3. You moving off that mark? You looking elsewhere right now, or are you sticking with Tommy?
Tommy Fleetwood, yeah, let's go. I mean, I think it was really important that the way that he closed on Friday, he made a couple of really clutch putts coming down the stretch, and he got into the final group. That's important at a lot of championships, and especially one in your home country. This is a very pro Tommy Fleetwood crowd, and Brian Harman had to go 26 hours from the time he tapped in round 2 to the time he teed off in round 3, thinking about holding a claret jug, and he makes a bogey immediately out of the gate, and the crowd is just lifting Tommy Fleetwood as much as they can. And he might not need that much, Joe, because we know that Tommy's been splendid this year. We know that he's gotten himself in contention. We know that on a golf course like this, a links-style golf course, he should be able to thrive. There are certainly going to be questions if he's in contention on the back 9 on Sunday, but for now, and from a couple of weeks ago, Tommy Fleetwood, I still believe, gets that claret jug on Sunday.
What a story it would be. The man from Southport, just 20 minutes away from Royal Liverpool. We will have live updates at the top of every hour here on CBS Sports HQ. Rick Gehman, we'll talk to you soon. Here's a look at that leaderboard, where they currently stand. The lead was 5. It's down to 3 in short order. Jon Rahm with a record-setting 8 under 63 Saturday at the Open now sits and waits and watches, and there are red numbers to be had. Rory McIlroy 3 under through 8 holes as well as we hurtle down the stretch at the Open Championship.